G'day guys and welcome. My name is Michael and I am the Dead Aussie Gamer and welcome to Avalon Society London Falls. First of all, of course, can I just get a moment of silence for the narrator? I think we lost him. He's gone now. So I'll do a very quick recap, once we've done our introductions. But for the time being, of course, if you have not checked out the show up until this point, where have you been? We are on to the second last episode of this amazing series that has followed the tale of these incredibly awesome and amazing fated characters as they have survived probably one of the longest nights in London. Things are going terribly wrong. There are portals in the sky dumping vast amounts of oceanic waters from an interdimensional plane filled with nightmarish monsters. Our group has battled giant undead. They have battled tyrannosaurs. They've made friends. They've made enemies. They've been betrayed. They've betrayed people. It's a huge cycle. Everything's happened. If you want to go watch it, then head on over to the YouTube channel and you can watch it. But later, of course, stay here for now. Stay here. Watch this. So, without any further ado, let me introduce to you my wonderful assortment of players and the characters that they will be embarking with, starting, of course, with none other than Edward Hargrave Montague, played by the ever-talented Guy from How to Be a Great Game Master. G'day, Guy!
G'day, Michael. How you doing there, mate?
I'm doing all right. How's the afternoon treating you? You know, had a bevy on you?
A bit of a Barbie, but nothing more than that, you know?
A Barbie's not a bevy, mate. It's
no, it's not bevy. It's all right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, fair enough. Anyway. Fair enough. Fair income. All right.
Fair
next
income
up,
indeed.
So tell us a little bit about Edward, if you'd be so kind.
Edward is a lawyer who's had a life change. You know, when your town is filled with giant oceanic waters and there are tentacled Tyrannosaurus Rexes teasing at every turn and all kinds of things going on, your life generally gets put in a different perspective. And his is that he has realized that he doesn't have to charge his friends in order to actually hang around with them. He can just actually hang around with them. And so that's a good thing. So he's been on that little journey of self-realization and he's quite enjoying it, actually. So yeah, that's where he is at the moment. Terrified, but that's where he is.
Fantastic. I love it. And of course, next up, playing the scintillating Professor Scarpati, none other than our ever lovely Till from Dungeon Fog. G'day, Till.
Hi everyone. Hi Michael. Yeah, I'm playing Professor John Scarpati, the old shady archaeology professor slash owner of a warehouse full of beautiful things that are probably now all being destroyed, and currently, if I remember correctly, steering an airship.
Steering an airship, or at least trying to steer an airship into the night sky. Yes, that is currently what is happening. On a scale of 1 to the Hindenburg, where do you reckon your piloting skills happen to be?
You mean like 1 is the best and 10 would be Hindenburg?
And number 1, you're aces, mate. You're like, top of your game.
Okay. So I'm 65 years old. I have rather bad eyesight. I'm frail, not very strong, and I think there's a giant Malifaux Rex attached to the ship. So yeah. I would rate us at Hindenburg level.
Okay, fair enough. All right. And of course, to clearly and obviously at some point or another make matters inevitably worse in this dire situation, Anthony, playing the role of Billum, the proctologist and inspired gremlin, who has made it his personal mission to examine every single NPC we've come across so far. G'day, Anthony.
G'day. Hey, yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to make you the butt of my jokes all the time, but
I mean, I just like to get right up inside those jokes and really ride the inside of them. When it comes down to it, that's what Billum does best. I get in tight to reach spaces and make sure I tear them apart from the inside. But no, Billum has been on a point of self-realization himself to a point where he is now considering the fact that he doesn't want to lose the person that he's been wanting to be dead for a long time, which is hard for him.
I imagine it's very hard not killing people.
It's super hard.
Super hard, super hard. All right, next up on our list of this fantastic cast is none other than the fantastically prominent prima donna Hortensia Fiddlewick, played by the even more prominent Janet from World Anvil. Good day, Janet.
Well, hello. How are you, darling?
Oh, I'm absolutely fabulous, darling. And I must say, I love how your dress matches your tea set perfectly.
Of course, well, one does try, darling. One does try. Hortensia, of course, prima donna extraordinaire, illusionist, and opera singer. And yeah, I created her as an iconic character. So there are different kinds of character arcs. There are character arcs where the characters progress. Prima donna is one of those characters who she's not going to change. Things will happen, but at her core, she's a friggin' opera singer. She believes that she belongs right on the front of the stage, singing the opera, and all of this disorganization. She's just trying to get through of it, darling, so that tomorrow, she can sing La Bohème once more.
Fantastic. And hopefully we'll all live to hear that. No guarantees, though. And of course, last but absolutely certainly not least, from the realms of the dead themselves, rising up to try and, I'd say try and live through this scenario, but I suppose try to simply not be inconvenienced by the death of her comrades, is none other than the ever wonderful, magical Mhaire from Orc and Spalter TV, playing the role of Ludovica. G'day, Mhaire.
Hey, may I say that me being German, playing a German character, I'm a little bit set off by all the mentions of the Hindenburg. That is...
You want to know something?
So inconsiderate.
Do you want to know something even sadder? I, up until this point, never realized that the Hindenburg was German. Look, I'm not a history major, okay?
But the name didn't indicate that.
I thought... You know, it's called a Zeppelin, okay? As far as I knew, it was a metal band, okay? And yeah, sure, there are a lot of metal bands that come from Germany. That doesn't mean anything.
You know that Zeppelin is actually the name of the guy who built them. Who was...
Well, now I've learned two things.
He was a very heavy man. That's why they called him Lead.
So there you go. Not only are you getting good RPG for your money, you're getting an education on history of aviation. So there you go.
I'm really hoping that he was German and not because, you know, fuzzy borderlines and things like that, and he's from the very border. Blah.
No, you know, something to Google at some point.
Wait, what are you talking about? Austria?
No, Swiss. Bodensee.
You guys.
Crazy people.
Yeah. There's more countries than just one where people speak German.
That's very true.
But Ludovica is as German as they come. Ludovica von Droste zu Möllenbeck. She's even from around where I grew up as a kid. So she's even worse. She's Westphalian. That's the most dull kind of German you might meet. And I'm allowed to say it because I'm one. And also she's dead, which makes you more interesting than being alive from Westphalia.
And I love how accepting of this group has been. Like, oh yeah, she's dead. Excellent. I am so glad. And the fact that you're now traveling with what is effectively a behemoth amalgam of dead nuns that has been animated into a giant mechanoid, what did I call it? A necroconstruct. That's what I'm going to call it. Necroconstruct.
A necrononicon.
Necrononicon. Yeah.
I can stop at any point, I swear.
Yeah. You've been trying for several seasons of guys' games, and now this one, I don't think you can stop.
No, I can't. It's a lie. All a lie. The cake is a lie.
All right.
You should just embrace it.
Yeah, that's it. Just accept it. Accept that this is what this is. All right. So, guys, let me, of course, share with you a little bit of the details about this stream. As always, guys, as the Dead Aussie Gamer, I do not like my audience sitting around idle. So you guys actually have a couple of ways that you can influence the course of the game. Now, I appreciate the donations that have come in over the last few weeks, but you know, I need some breathing room. Okay, so pace yourselves. We have
Boss monster, please. We've had too
Yeah.
many.
So we've got our $10 donation where you can give advantage or disadvantage to our players. You can see the disadvantages and advantages represented by the impish icons below each of the characters. Disadvantages means that I can play them to make things worse. Advantages means that they can play it to make things better. For the price of $25, you can instigate a plot twist where Eddie, our behind-the-scenes technician, will generate a random plot twist to affect the outcome of the game. And once that bar beneath the screen, where you can see it sort of has the boss monster bar, reaches $100, well, that's when things get interesting, as something big, something large, something nasty inevitably rises from the surf and attacks or engages our group. Over the last 3 weeks, we've had a few of these boss monsters which have made the game interesting, but we're going to be kicking it into overdrive. So yes, we're gonna see how this works. And of course, speaking of which, our scene takes place high in the sky above London, just above the warehouse belonging to none other than Professor Scarpati, riding atop a dirigible, a prototype made simply to explore the idea of aviation in this particular part of Europe. You have begun to finally get some headway, to finally leave behind what you think may possibly be the death and destruction of the streets below, thanks to the portals and their constant surge of just absolute destruction. However, your fight is not over. Professor Scarpati, you find yourself on the helm, holding firm onto the wheel as you're pulling out and over the sights of the city. You can see Westminster off to your right-hand side. The actual church itself. The survivors have made their way onto the roof and are still surviving, keeping a weather eye out as they're hoping that you will stop by and pick them up. You can look and scout over at the crippled site of Big Ben, leaning at a 45-degree angle, with signs of the roof having been blown out by the giant demon you faced earlier on today. And last, but of course not least, you can see on the streets below what is remaining of the hill. What was it called? Janet, help. Primrose Hill. Thank you. You can see the remnants of Primrose Hill, where the guild, the guild had set up this small military outpost, but had been washed away by the torrential storms, brought low by the fact that you had managed to destroy one of these totemic markers lining this area. In the sky above you, you still see the Burning Man glowing bright orange, his powers surging around the entire cityscape. You believe that he is indeed the source of all of this these calamities, and by perhaps getting to him, perhaps stopping him, you may be able to avert any more destruction. Just as you begin to rise and lift off, there's the sound of a terrifying roar and a crunch as this huge set of jaws latch on to the back of the dirigible. It sends the whole ship itself careening left and right as this humongous Malifaux Rex, this dino, this Jurassic monster with tendrils reaching out of its mouth, wrapping around the rear of the aft of the ship, start to pull and weigh you down. The ship, while it's trying to take off, has taken a sudden dive. The dinosaur plants its feet firmly in the roof as you try to literally pull yourself away from it. Now, the ship itself is powered by a soul stone embedded in a large gas canopy that rises above the area that you're in. The tendrils have latched onto the back, which are about 10 feet away from you, or as some of you know, about 10, 11 meters that way. And you are all currently being shook from left to right. The entire deck is precarious. There is only a very thin, narrow railing keeping you guys contained within the actual deck itself. What do you guys do as this creature does not seem to want to let up?
Reload.
Seems we're all on different ships, rocking in the different directions, but that's okay.
So, this is the prototype that I was helping to build. Do I remember if we have embedded any weaponry into that ship when we built the
This
prototype?
has absolutely no weaponry. This thing was actually only barely flight tested. It was more of a gift because the guild actually has a law sanctioning against aerial vehicles being developed and utilized. So you were both keeping it as a souvenir and also hiding it from the guild.
Yeah. God damn it, I told Ferdinand we should add some weaponry to it. Okay. Is there any way for me to kind of try to maintain the distance, or like pulling against the tendrils? Would I be able to kind of keep the ship as steady as possible? While the
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We are going to go with an athletics or an acrobatics check as you attempt to hold it together. Hortensia, you had your hand up?
Yes. My character had a little level up last time. I would like to attempt to use the siren song. So Hortensia clears her throat, leans over the edge, gripping white-knuckled, and sings, "Slimy fish attack! Go, go, go! Snack, snack, snack! Slimy fish attack!" And I am singing to the monsters in the sea to get them to attack the Malifaux Rex.
All right.
Enemy of my enemy is going to attack it.
All right. As your voice begins to cascade around, I need you to flip me a charm.
Charm?
Well,
Charm, darling. I'm all charmed, don't you know?
Your singing, your music.
Nope, wasn't that. That's a lie.
I object. Objection.
I also object. Everybody objects. No. Thank you, darling.
That is one of the greatest arias from the Fishmonger's Wife, and her performance is absolutely captivating. So I object. I will discard a measly 3 to allow you to redraw.
All right, very well.
I have the feeling fish might not be able to hear those high notes.
I don't know. We shall see.
Let's see what the card says.
It always worked in the opera.
Oh, not bad. We got a 9.
Is
on
a
your
9
music check?
sufficient? Let's check the charm. How charming am I, darling? Of course I'm charming. Look at me. I have 2 charm and I have 2 music. So that would be a 13.
All right, with a 13, as your voice begins to resonate outwards, the high-pitched volume of your singing to the untrained ear sounds like you flipped a 2, but you actually your voice reverberates off the glass, and as it does so, there's almost like this sound of like the pinging of crystal, and that creates this dulcet tone that begins to sort of resonate underwater. And as it does, you watch as swimming up a group of these tiny little crawlers, these speckled piscine creatures, suddenly leap out of the water. They're not quite sure what they're doing. They seem to be kind of like confused, not knowing where the music's coming from.
Attack! Get on his back!
And they leap. And they start to bite at the Malosaurus. The Malosaurus roars quite heavily. You can feel it sort of shaking through all the different all the different surfaces on the ship. It hasn't let go yet, but it has, of course, shifted its body weight. Professor Scarpati, you're holding on as best you can. Can I get a athletics or an acrobatics check?
Yeah, I did that. It was a 10.
10? Fantastic. All right. You managed to hold the air. Pretty much you managed to hold distance, keeping the tendril as taut as possible. Sebastian?
I'd like to tickle the tentacle.
You'd like to tickle the tentacle. All right.
There are a lot of farm animals.
That's nice for you, but what are we doing about the Malifaux Rex?
Well, you can tickle fish, and then that puts them into a bit of a slumber, and then you can catch them out of a river. I used to do it as a lad all the time, and a tentacle is sort of an octopus sort of thing, which is sort of, fishish-like, and, well, perhaps this creature has similar properties. So rather than shooting at it, I think I'll try and tickle it.
All right. As you attempt to tickle the
Tentacle.
The tentacle of the
Just along the
Tyrannosaurus.
sides, just gentle little tickles on either side, just near the suckers, but not, or whatever they have. But there's usually a fine dividing line between the top and the bottom, and that line is usually the most sensitive part, because they often used to feel things. So you're just going just along the sides of the tentacles, like, oh, it's got a little tentacle in.
You're tickling the Tyrannosaurus tentacle transitions.
Yeah.
All right. So
I feel like I'm a completely different game all of a sudden.
dear Wyrd, we need rules for how to tickle a giant dinosaur.
Through the
Sincerely.
Breach, written by Dr. Zeus.
All right. So okay. So yes.
And I'm being
As-
absolutely honest. You do tickle
No, no,
fish in the river.
No,
and it puts them to
I
sleep.
agree. I know you, the logic is incredibly sound. What I'm lacking right now is the inspiration to figure out how to do this.
Well,
So
I
let's-
have homesteading, which I assume is like animal handling and all that kind of nonsense. So I was
Perfect.
looking at the skills going, what the hell can I use? And I can't legalize the T-Rex. So I'm like, well, tickle it.
All right, perfect. Let's use animal handling, because I really don't want you to roll an opposed athletics check against this thing.
All right, animal handling is 15.
All right, 15. Nice, very nice. All right. So as you attempt to tickle it, it begins to release. And as it sort of does so, you hear the sounds of like some of these like, because there's like literally loads of these tentacles. As they sort of start to pull away, you hear the sounds of the engine starting to gain more traction. The tendrils starting to pull even more. The Malisaurus, of course, distracted by the many biting little Piscine creatures that Hortensia has summoned, is trying its best to hang on. Billum, what are you doing during the course of this catastrophe?
Being awfully confused at the assault that is happening on these tentacles. I'm going to try and look around to see if I can find some form of maybe a harpoon, maybe a stick.
Yeah, no, easy. You find a stick. It appears to be a
With the
hook
stick.
that you think may possibly have been like used to kind of reach up and hang lanterns on the sides of this large
With
sort
this
of gas
stick
chamber.
that have like a curved hook.
Yeah.
Yes, brilliant. Well, I'm going to use said stick, grab it, run down to the T-Rex, and I'm going to try and jam it in its nostril and
Okay.
hook it up. Fish hook it, if you will.
All right, let's make a melee attack action as you attempt to nasally fishhook the Malisaurus Rex.
That's a black joker.
Oh.
Oh,
You just
thanks for
got
fishing that one
nailed.
out the deck.
All right. You know what? I'm gonna also give you a negative flip, so you can't cheat on it. Well, you can't cheat on it anyway, but I'm gonna give you a negative flip on it.
Sure.
All right. So what'd you get?
It is our results for no reason.
All right.
A one
Very
and a
well.
black joker.
Wait, that's not a black joker.
Fine, you're
that's a-
cleaning the deck for us.
Black joker is underneath.
Oh, right. There it is. Good. All right. All of a sudden, there is this deep inhale, and Billum is gone. There is a small puddle of snot that seems to be on the deck, as Billum has literally vanished from sight. Ludovica, you obviously have been witnessing this. You kind of are at a bit of a, I guess you're in a mixed mindset at this point, as Goliath, who of course has been your companion for a while, is not on the dirigible but on a small raft below where you guys currently are. Divided.
Yes, and I think I've already called out to him, hold tight. You make it. Mommy is coming back for you, hopefully. Then
won't die,
she
man.
realizes that Billum has been snorted in. It's like, he wasn't even trying to get inside this time, was he? This is amazing. This little green gremlin just ends up, and then she shoots at the Malifaux Rex, and I'm using my positive flip that some nice person has given me,
Very well.
and that says 6 of crows and a 10 of masks.
Very nice. All right. So the bullet, what's your total? My apologies.
15 then. I've
15.
upgraded.
All right. So that is flipping 3 times and taking the lowest.
And sadly, I didn't get tomes. Otherwise, I could ignore his
Impossible to win.
stupid armor.
Well, it's not bad. 9, 10, and 12. Nice. So that's medium damage.
That's
As
3.
As you shoot him. 3?
3, yeah.
Ooh, very nice. All right. So, Ludovica, you turn and aim your pistol directly at the Malisaurus. You fire it, and the bullet hits it just underneath the eye. A shot of blood pours from its cheek as it sort of then starts to shake its head violently in order to try and dislodge the gremlin that has now shot up its nose. We are going to fly into initiative at this point. The Malisaurus has pretty much just been hanging on for the most part, but everyone's kind of had a go. So everyone, please flip me initiative, and I will ask you momentarily what you have received.
I hate this creature. I just want to point this out. Professor Scarpati, I feel it was an error on your behalf to leave it alive.
I kind of start regretting it too. I was hoping that I could make a good, like, either a little profit of it or just release it as it was intended to be into a habitat. But I should have got rid of it when it was a cub.
All right.
Does anyone have pepper?
Did you ask if anyone has pepper, or
Yeah, just asking. Is there a galleon here, Professor? I think it snorted up Billum. We need to make it sneeze.
Oh no, Billum went in again. Okay.
I don't think he was planning this time. It looked well.
Right.
He had a distinct look of, oh no, shucks, or whatever he would say on his face.
So do we have a galley?
You do have a galley. It is currently fully stocked because you, as a very cautious individual, have several bug-out bags, and there is, of course, a small collection of pepper that you would have placed in this place. Hortensia,
that
what's
would
your
be
initiative?
10.
10. Very nice. Sebastian?
10. Although I believe Hortensia goes first.
Very
And
nice.
even if she didn't, I would let her
Tens.
go first anyway, because she is a lady.
Darling, darling, I'm so glad
Was
you
that a
noticed.
10 for Ludovica?
No, 9.
9. Okay. Scarpati
4.
and Billum.
15.
Oh, very nice. All right. So, starting, of course, with Billum. Billum, you find yourself in a small, dank, but slightly warm tunnel. You feel a certain sense of comfort here. There's a smell, a very familiar, homey kind of smell.
Right on the
But
tip
it's-
of my nose, big.
All right.
Do I still have said hook stick?
Yes. However, it is so cramped in here that you don't really have the leverage to be able to kind of, wield it with any kind of dexterity.
Right. My thought is to just push it further into the cavity.
Okay, so you're gonna try and you can pretty much push it as far as you can, but it can probably go further. Do you want to kind of crawl in with it, or?
No. If anything, I'll push it in as far as I can with my hands and then try and kick it further in with my feet if that's the direction I am facing.
No, you're facing head on, so you're head in.
Head on. All right, so it's pushed all the way in my hands.
Yep.
And hope that it goes further in to tickle something. Why are we tickling things today? If I'm not going to be able to do anything else with that, then I'm going to try and see if I can reach into my pocket and pull out some moonshine.
Oh my God,
And pour moonshine directly into the nostril cavity.
All right, so what you're going to be doing is basically a form of contortion. So we're going to make an acrobatics check as you attempt to retrieve it. However, between pushing the spike, retrieving the bottle is all you'll be able to do for the rest of this round. So acrobatics check as you.
That's a total of 13 on the acrobatics.
Oh, with a 13, you use your gyrations and your twisty bones, and you manage to pull out a small canister of alcohol. All right. Hortensia, you're up next.
What is the permanency of the siren's song, also known as the snack attack song?
Well, the snack attack rap is basically going to be it's a concentration one. So the longer you hold it, the more that they are in allegiance. It of course will require you to make a check every single round. But once the song is over, then they kind of snap to their senses and go about whatever they would do.
Okay, so if I continue to sing, then and I flip right, it continues to work. What?
Yeah, it's a bonus action to do.
Hortensia sort of leans over as she continues to sing "Snack Attack on his back," and how attacky are they? Very attacky, a little bit attacky.
Oh, they're trying their damn
knives.
It's really cute. Have you ever watched a child try to put on their parents' like clothes and makeup and pretend to be an adult? It's kind of like that, as these creatures are trying to attack the creature, as they're trying to attack the Malisaurus. They're giving it their best. They really think they're doing something. They're like, haha, pray! We are going to kill this thing and we are going to take it home and we're going to eat it. And this creature has barely noticed them.
Oh. Well, okay. It's time for a different approach then. I'm nothing if not flexible, darling. And sorry, Guy. And so I desist my singing. I leave off the snack attack aria. And instead, I am going to conjure a beautiful Malisaurus rexina.
Malisaurus rexina.
I'm going to create a lovely, beautiful, buxom Malisaurus rexina. It's going to have luscious eyelashes and shiny, beautiful scales with a touch of gold, gleam, if you will. Her voice would be dulcet. Her tentacles would be slightly furry. And yes, altogether, she's going to be stunning. So I suppose I should start by flipping.
Yes, please do.
Yes, I shall.
Make a prestidigitation check as you attempt to create a vivacious...
sexy dinosaur. I'm trying to make
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do if he's gay?
Or if he's a she.
Already engaged.
Yeah, or maybe asexual.
So then all of a sudden another dinosaur shows up with a rolling pin and curlers. What do you call this? Who's this hussy?
with the tentacles and curlers, yes.
Yep.
Can I tell the gender of the dinosaur?
It is a male.
You should probably ask them.
Isn't that a homesteading check?
Look.
I'm not going
to... Edward find out.
Edward puts his hands on the tentacle and asks it to cough. He finds out it's a male.
Not fully disabled by the looks of it.
Wait, am I doing a negative flip because reasons?
No, there's no. Oh yes, because you're on Earth. Unless you want to focus.
Yes, I'm going to focus. I think when you conjure a sexy dinosaur, it behoves one to concentrate.
Very well. In which case, just one flip's fine.
Okay, that's my flip.
Okay. I believe you need a tome in order to cast illusions.
Well, flibbity gibbets. There, that's a
Much
tome.
better.
The 12
Indeed.
of tomes.
All right, you conjure as you focus your arcane energies into creating this beautifully appealing tyrannosaur, at least what you imagine to be an appealing tyrannosaur. It has kind of like these long eyelashes, big pouty lips, the come hither eyes that a T-Rex usually has. I'm gonna say this thing is distracted, like just you have thoroughly distracted it, like one way or another, whether it has finally found a true love that, like for most of us, is not real, or if it has simply just been confused by the sudden random animation of another Malisaurus. This thing is currently quite distracted by what's going on.
Or just imagine if someone conjured a sexy human for you, but didn't have any idea what is sexy for a human, and suddenly there was someone standing there with, I don't know, huge ears and furry knees and
Yes,
more
don't
fingers
humans-
than usual.
Yes, don't humans mate through their ear holes? I mean, this is
You'd be
sexy.
confused
Come on.
too.
It's a dinosaur. I'm guessing it has a cloacal sac, all right? Cloacal vent, sorry.
It's true. Probably.
Okay.
We
You
don't
can
know for sure, I think.
dissect it once it's either dead or when I'm not here. Okay, so yes, there is now a second Tyrannosaur. For a fleeting moment, you can watch as a soldier who managed to grab onto a bit of flotsam finally manages to pull himself free of the raging rapids that line the streets. As he pulls himself from the water onto the safety of what he thinks is a roof, he sees this beautiful T-Rex with the long lashes and stuff, and panics and jumps back in his raft and continues on his way. Just not having a bar of it. 2 T-Rexes, nah. Nope, I got paid to be a parking meter lady. I'm good. I'm just out we go. Edward, what are you doing?
The tickling does not appear to be releasing the tentacles. Is that correct?
You have released a multitude of tentacles. However, you have not released all of them just yet.
And I think it's time for some sterner stuff. I will shoot it.
Ooh, are you going to shoot it in the tentacles or are you going to shoot it in the face hole?
I am going to try and shoot it. Ooh, I'm going to try and shoot it in the tentacle. I don't want to kill this thing. I just wanted to leave us alone.
All right. Very well.
So that would be pistols, right? That would be a pistol. That would be 10.
Okay. With a 10, there is a snap as the bullet finds purchase in the tentacle, and as it does so, instinctively the tendril recoils, freeing the airship as it suddenly lurches forward and begins to make distance.
Go, Scarpati, go!
I can't. We have Billum still in this thing.
Go casual then?
He shall be missed. All right, Anthony, you and I are going on a different adventure. It's called The Adventures of Dinosaur and Small Boy. As off you go, 2 companions trying to survive London. I had this whole Disney Pixar thing going, but no. All right, Ludovica, as the ship is now pulling away skyward from the massive Malisaurus Rex, where are you running to?
To the galley.
All right, you rush to the galley. You thrust open the door, and inside you could see there is quite a nice supply of assorted goods. However, there is probably a 7 to 3 parts whiskey to actual food. So there's some very good quality alcohol that has been stashed here.
Dann macht sie, ha, greift die erste Flasche Alkohol. Oh, sorry. James says, ha, grabs the first bottle of alcohol she comes across. I don't know why I switched languages there. And
That's okay.
then
I think it worked.
frantically looks around for peppers of any kind or ground coffee or anything that might make a giant dinosaur sneeze.
All right. Make a a wilderness roll as you begin to.
Wilderness! This is a kitchen!
Well, I mean, scrounging is still scrounging. Doesn't matter where you are.
Okay, I'm in the wilderness of Professor Scarpati's alcohol kitchen. The booze. Anyone know what would be that would fit here? I'm sorry, I'm
cunning.
really grossly tired. Wilderness goes with which aspect?
Cunning.
Cunning. Oh, I'm cunning. I'm cunning, sweetie. Look at that.
All right.
+2.
Professor Scarpati. Well, that's a +14, so that's a 16 on a red joker. Professor Scarpati, you are a man of exotic tastes and have found yourself in the company of many travels across this earth and beyond. For whatever reason, of all the things in your collection, you have a powdered substance that you have simply labeled Spice X. It is a combination of Ghost Scorpion, Carolina Reaper, and atomic peppers.
Yeah, I like my chili spicy.
Oh yeah, you use Ludovica as you see it. You kind of look at it. This is the closest thing that looks. It definitely looks like it's got like the peppercorns in it and stuff. This is clearly what you need.
So, with a decisive nod, she grabs the thing and runs back out.
Right. As your ship's sort of moving away, the Malisaurus. Oh, what is he going to do? All right. The Malisaurus, watching you kind of, sail away, the Piscine creatures are like, wait a minute. What are we doing here? Uh-oh. Splash. And they piss right off. They do not want to fight this thing. Malisaurus, however, is still kind of bothered by whatever's up its nose. It takes its large hoof and starts to kind of claw at its nose and shake this thing out of its face. As it does so, it begins to make its way, jumping from roof to roof as it begins to make its way towards the River Thames. Moving quickly and swiftly, leaping from building to building. You watch as one of its feet crushes into the side of a building. It's shaking its head and roaring in anger and pain. As it looks at as it tries to do so, it looks at the female Malisaurus Rex and is, again, as mentioned, quite distracted by it and actually loses its footing, and you hear this as it crashes into a building, falling into this almost cage, as it were, surrounded by 4 walls which protect it from the surging waters around it. All right. We then return to Scarpati.
So first of all, let me tell you that the situation, the scene that you just painted very heavily reminds me of how I met my wife. But
Dinosaur?
Returning to this game, I would like to turn the airship because my friend Billum is still in that thing. So I would like to fly the airship closer, to give Ludovica the opportunity to pull in the pepper that I assume she's currently picking up from the galley.
All right, very well. You dive as you move the ship. It has a very slow turning arc, but you manage to veer around to head off where this dinosaur happens to be trapped. It sort of roars angrily as it looks around. it's trying to figure out a way out, but it literally has none anymore now that it's kind of stuck with no roof to climb on. If it tries to do so, it will break the walls and allow the water to swoosh back in, and it recognizes this. As it sort of turns around, Ludovica, you come into view just above where the dinosaur is.
Yeah, she draws her pistol with one hand, and with the other one she holds the bag of spice and the booze towards the Malifaux Rex, and then tries to shoot it just when it's above his snout to basically create a cloud of burning peppers right in the face of this thing. That should make it sneeze.
All right. Make a pistols attack action as you fire.
This is not a 2. This is a 13, which adds up to an 18.
All right. As the 18 hits, the peppers hit it in the eyes, and it lets loose a pained howl. Its nose begins to run. Billum, you watch as this mucus just suddenly rushes up from where you are. Your face gets kind of hit by this pole suddenly. Just this punk. As you are swept through its nasal cavity and sprayed onto the floor. As this creature is now rampaging around in this very tiny space, you see that the walls begin to crack and water begins to pour in and flood. You are trapped literally in this tiny room of about maybe 30 meters by 30 meters with a T-Rex that is rampaging into the walls as swirling water threatens to crush you.
We need rope quickly, or can't you make him fly, prima donna?
I can't make him fly, but I might be able to get the fish people to bring him to me.
Billum, it's your turn.
The fish people. You and I have a different definition of people, but go ahead.
Well, you've never worked with a forest before.
Did someone just donate?
Oh, we have a donation. Yay. Building up that bar. Everyone's panicking. All of a sudden, the illusion becomes real. There are now 2 mouse. No, I'm joking. I do have another one, though. I do have another one. So thank you for the donation. Much appreciated. Much obliged. Eddie, I'm sure will let us know what happened with that. All right. Billum, what are you doing?
30-foot room. T-Rex.
Yep.
Me.
Yep.
T-Rex. Me.
Yep.
And somewhere far, far, far overhead, you hear Ludovica say, oops.
My question is, am I affected by the capsaicin?
Make a toughness challenge. Or, toughness or carouse, your choice.
He doesn't have a nose. That should protect him at least like 1/3 of the way.
Yeah, but he has eyes.
How does he smell?
But his eyes are already red.
Horrible.
Capsaicin is probably in his blood. He's a bayou gremlin. He's
Yeah, he should be Gumbo trained.
yeah.
Right, what'd you get?
Object. Please, I have terrible cards. Let me object.
Okay, very well. You can object. I mean, Billum?
Oh, my toughness is very low.
What about
you get to redraw. You get to redraw.
I can redraw.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can also use your carouse if it's low.
That's
Well then. So you watch as Billum's head sort of, for a moment, he's like, oh, it's a bit spicy. As he has a near allergic reaction, as every single inch of your face is literally on fire.
all right. Why did I ask?
I don't know.
Fun. All right. The best thing that Billum can do is try to scurry up these broken walls in any manner possible while he's swollen.
Okay. Make a negative flip on your athletics check as you try to gain higher ground. You rush towards the wall.
Oh,
You run straight into the wall. Punk.
Oh, I fall down on my butt. That's for sure. Oh God!
Definitely falls down into his butt.
If my
I'm
head's
so
that
very
small, I float.
I'm so very sorry he was safe inside the Metasaurus Rex.
That's kind of true. All right, Hortensia, it is your turn.
Yes. I just pasted disappearing act, which is a little power I have, into
I
the
know how
chat,
disappearing act work. This is
which allows me to make him reappear in a safe spot within 5 yards of me.
all right.
Can I use this?
You
Have
may.
I read this wrong?
You have read it correctly.
Okay, I would like to make Billum disappear.
All right. Now, just to be clear, disappearing act is an ability of your illusionist. Yes.
Illusion, yes. So I'm going to have to do some flipping.
No, that yes, you'll need to do some flipping for us.
Flipping. It does, of course, mean that the dinosaur disappears as well, I think.
Does it? No.
No, he stays? She,
No, you
rather.
mean the female dinosaur.
Yeah, the lady dinosaur.
All right. Disappearing act. Make something
The
disappear
Rexina.
into thin air. Target is removed from reality. Yada, yada, yada. You have to be within 10 yards, which you are. Intellect plus your prestidigitation. You need to get a 10 of masks or higher. Now you do have a lot of those little bonuses things. You may use one of them to automatically give you a mask on anything you flip,
Ah,
if you wish to.
yes. Thank you for that.
Object!
objection.
I object. I'll get you another roll.
Oh, I was just going to cheat, but that's awfully kind of you.
Well, use the roll first. When I say
Okay.
I have terrible cards, I really mean it.
Okay. Burn those cards, darling. Burn them. And that is not
Your
very much
Cheat.
better.
Just cheat.
objection
Cheat
comes
is-
in.
Well, do you know what? I went to the Magic Girls' School of Magic Things, and that is a 13 of masks. That is mask, right?
Ooh, very nice. All right, so you are disappearing Billum, and as you do so, Billum, when you hit the wall, you fall onto the ground, and as you do so, all of a sudden, a chandelier that is very precariously hanging from a beam that would have run and held up the roof, but now is just sort of hanging dilapidated with this chandelier kind of dangling very precariously. It snaps and falls down onto Billum. You watch in horror as glass shatters onto the ground. Billum is buried under all of these razor sharp edges. Hortensia, you take a moment.
Oh crap! I hope I got him.
You wiggle your dress, and with a flourish of your tailcoat, you present a very swollen Billum.
Ta-da!
It's okay. Over.
Goddamn magician.
Is that? She looks up. Hortensia, is that actually Billum, or have you copied him?
Well, I think this is the real one. I give him a poke with my toe. Billum, is that you? You look awfully spherical.
He also looks very purple.
Yes,
Well, his head
darling.
anyway.
Darling, that color doesn't suit you.
I'm
probably
going to
fine
get more
with you.
booze.
Yes, that should do it.
Drink the moonshine. I'll discard a fake card and shrug it off.
Professor, we have Billum. Get us out of here.
Yes, I will.
And I will do my best to steer clear from the dinosaur and just try to maintain course towards the Burning Man.
All right. As you begin to make your way, you veer the vessel back towards. Well, are you still heading towards the Burning Man? All right. You veer your vessel back towards the Burning Man, and as you do so, you hear the roar of the Tyrannosaur become a more helpless cry as you leave behind the creature trapped in the surging waters. As you make your way, getting higher and higher, the portals around you become larger and larger.
We should get
Oh yeah, you
Soulstone
could have used that
ready.
from the start, by the way, Billum. The thing you posted. Do you want to use it now? Yeah.
I used it just a moment ago when I reappeared.
Okay, so when you reappeared, so Billum, do you want to explain it for the folks at home? The kitty wings back at home?
Well, for the folks at home, I can discard one of my fate cards to get rid of my anaphylactic condition.
That's it. You just literally an ability called Shrug It Off.
I love this game.
Yes.
And Ludovica comes back out of the galley and just spritzes very expensive, probably booze all over Billum for no reason, because she wanted to kind of clean off the capsaicin with the alcohol. So now she's just dousing Billum, who's actually quite healthy in, aged 20 years Scotch, probably. Glug, 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 glug.
Oh, feels so good.
Ludovica, you watch as Billum seems to get a different kind of relief from that. As you begin to make your way towards the Burning Man, it's not a long distance. The Burning Man, the figure is just hanging in the air, not moving at all. And as you get closer, the light just shines brighter and brighter till it's literally almost daytime. As
we
you start
have the soul stones ready. Sorry, Michael.
No, go, please.
Do we have those soul stones? Remember, we had to channel power through the soul stone or something. Wasn't that what? Isn't that what we learned in the church? Use the soul stones, channel the power into the beast, close the portals. No, am I alone here?
I might remember roughly something like that. Yes,
Casting
but
your minds back to the church, you were told that the Burning Man may possibly be some kind of conduit to what kind of catastrophe is happening. Much like the Neverborn creature that was atop Big Ben, who was using Soulstone magic in order to pry open a hole to Malifaux, likely there might have been a way that the Burning Man was using magic from Malifaux in order to create these portals. By using the soul stones, you believe what you might have been able to do by emptying the soul stones and bringing them into proximity with the Burning Man, you may have been able to siphon some of that magic into the stones and at least diminish some of the effects of the portals nearby. Now, the only soul stone you had originally was in Goliath, who is now safely floating on a raft. You also have, the medallion is not a soul stone. It is a grimoire, a very different thing. The other soul stone that you have is part of the dirigible. Oh, yes. Do you have soul stone earrings?
Yes, that's how I can do magic in the first place.
Yes, I do recall.
They're
Also,
not very
didn't
big.
we take-
They're tiny soul stones. They're small.
Didn't we
They may
take
not
a
be
soul
big enough.
stone from Big Ben?
Yes, sorry. And you did take the soul stone from Big Ben. So you've got 2 soul stones. All right.
But we need to.
So how do we
need to-
do that exactly?
Well, first of all, I'm not sure if our soul stones, they should be drained first. Has anyone an idea how we can drain them?
You simply need to cast spells while channeling your energy through it. To answer,
or try and eat them.
Or yeah, I mean, true. You could try and eat it. I would
Stone appetit.
Soul stones are raw magic rather than souls. So I mean, I know this sounds weird because I feel like it should make sense. I know exactly where Ludovica is going. If a soul stone absorbs souls and turns it into magic, and then you eat that, can you eat it? I mean, in theory.
I mentioned that my character died from soulstone poisoning, so I kind of feel like
Yeah, I feel like you can't.
Liberation story-wise.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept. I like the idea. I like the thought process of it.
I'm still not going to allow it though.
Looking around, you can also see below you. Goliath is definitely sailing away. Like he's moving super quick and far. So there's no real way to get him from where you guys are. Even with the disappearing act ability, that requires a 10-yard range, and he's much further than that. At least for now. As you begin to get closer, the soul stones that you currently have on your person, who's going to utilize them?
I could try to do that thing.
Very well.
Some older experience in that area.
You take hold of the soul stone from Big Ben and begin to channel your magical energies in order to try and siphon the strength from this gemstone. I need you to make me a sorcery check. However,
Okay.
I would like you to do so at a negative flip. Because I'm going to eat one of your imps.
Going to eat my imp?
I'm going to eat your imp.
I has question.
Yeah, I have a question.
Have we exited dramatic time?
Yes, you have. So therefore, because you have exited dramatic time, you may discard any number of cards and redraw back up to 3.
I had hoped that was the case because I feel like I'm going to need some ammunition for this.
All right. And you cannot cheat a negative flip.
You cannot cheat a negative flip. Well, good luck to me then.
Can I object to a negative flip?
Yes, but she would flip again at a negative flip.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Well, that's a 2.
'Tis a 2.
So
I object.
And
that's
you
2.
flip another one. You still have to flip another one. And that's a 5.
And that's a
So
5.
you object. Okay, so we have another objection. So flip again. So flip 2, take the lowest. All right. As you begin to channel your energies into it, a voice can be heard. It's a soft voice at first, but then slowly begins to rise inside your mind, Hortensia, as it starts to sound like this. As this man screaming just sort of permeates from you. All of a sudden, you watch as Hortensia's body ignites, catching fire. She is engulfed in flames. She takes 3 points of damage. And is currently burning.
I'd like to stop, drop, and roll her.
Ludovica rushes over and grabs. I mean, you with the whole stuff you found in the pantry and stuff. Easy, you got like a tarp or a blanket or something. You wrap.
I take off my veil and start.
Your veil catches fire. As you're slowly you're putting her out. What are the rest of you doing?
I have a cape. I use a cape. Yes, I have a cape here. I use a cape. It's
Edward
heavy.
pulls out his cape. Edward, I'd like you to flip me a athletics check with a negative flip, if you'd be so kind.
Silence.
Just double checking that you definitely chose a skill I don't have.
I definitely chose you don't have.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I'd like to also give a very special thank you to BJ Varro for his donation of negative flips for everyone.
Well,
Oh, thank you so much, Bijivaro.
I'm consistently bad.
I see. All right. Yes, so that's a disadvantage for Hortensia, Bill, and Edward. So Ludovica, you're fine. You're safe. You're good.
So athletics is grace or might?
Might, I'm afraid.
Oh, fantastic! I got a 1.
All right, Edward, as you take out your cape and attempt to sort of extinguish the flames engulfing your beloved prima donna, do you recall that your cape was tattered and torn at the hands, or the jaws, should I say, of young Master Billum? During the course of your adventures thus far, your cape has become even more precarious, tattering and tethering and tearing even further. And as you sort of pull it off in order to ignite, to sort of put out the fire, as you are waving and wafting this open flame with this very tattered and tethered flame, you literally just spread this fire onto your cape and through the ship. The deck is not covered, I guess, but there are now spot fires surrounding Hortensia, Ludovica, and Edward.
That wasn't
Billum?
part of the bloody plan.
Billum, you are feeling great. Absolutely wonderful. You know? Just you've never been this high before. In fact, you don't think any gremlin's ever been this high before. There is this wonderful sensation that you are flying, and no gremlin before you has ever felt this way, except perhaps La Rouge, who is probably somewhere on this ship. In that moment, you hear this kind of, like operatic music, this very dulcet, kind of peaceful tones, piano, violin, fire coming towards a big pool of scotch that you are now covered in. The scotch that Ludovica had covered Billum in covers the deck and makes it incredibly flammable, which, thanks to the efforts of Edward, thanks to the efforts of the alcohol, and now Billum, also on fire, has now ignited around the place. Professor, you can make me a notice check.
Yeah, I'm still steering the ship.
Please.
Let's see if you notice that your ship's on fire.
We've got, you know what? I've got 2 episodes. I'm going to burn through as many of these negative flips as I can. I love this. It's like why I hang on to them.
Well,
No,
even with the negative flip, I'm still at a... Let me double check. I'm still at a 13.
Oh, that's still okay. Yep, even despite the disadvantage you have, you notice behind you that a roaring fire has begun. You are still making your way towards the burning man, but you realize very quickly that you have a choice to make. If you continue towards him, this might be a one-way trip. What do you wish to do?
I think how high above are we already? You muted.
Sorry. You are roughly 800 feet in the air.
Crap. Okay, I feel like I would before I make the decision myself, I would like to shout over my shoulders like, "Can you get this under control, or do I have to do something?"
We're on fire.
Okay, in that case, I assume that this steering wheel has kind of this pull back to raise and push forward to drop.
Yep.
And I will push forward the steering wheel to make the dirigible just drop. And I will attempt to do a dive where I will just dive into the water, extinguish the flames, and try to pull up in time to get back out of the water.
You mean dive into the water coming out of the portals?
Oh yeah, right. There's a lot of portals pouring out water, right?
Yeah, you
I
mean
don't
the
have
ones
to. I
with
don't
enough
have to
water
go
pressure
down
that have been tearing through buildings like a hot knife through butter? Those ones?
I'm assuming there's spray though, right? Does it just come out like a tap, or is it like...
Have you ever... Oh, actually, you know what? This is a fun fact. There is actually a phenomenon that if water, if the path and trajectory of the water doesn't have... no, I thought you said I was muted. That's what I thought she was miming. She's not.
No, I was doing...
No, the path and trajectory of the water does not deviate, so it almost looks like a flat, like almost like an icicle, basically, because of the pressure and because there's no shift in the path of the water molecules as it travels. It looks almost like it's still. This is the kind of water pressure that these things are hitting out.
No,
once it hits the ground from the street level, there is then a spray as the water hits the ground from there. But there's no sort of spritz, as it were, coming from these portals.
But I assume that there is like the fish people came from. So there's a lot of water on the ground. Like I would like to do a dip dive, like a pelican, for example. I would like to pray down, dip into the water, and get up. I will avoid the portal water.
Okay, I see where you're going. All right, so those of you on fire, never thought I'd have to begin a sentence like that. those of you on fire, frantically trying to put yourselves out. While Professor Scarpati is attempting to do this, what are we doing? Are we are we trying to put Billum out? Hortensia, you've kind of put out the fire on yourself, but are still surrounded by fire. Edward, you've still got a flaming cape. Ludovica, you have a flaming veil, and of course, also surrounded by spot fires.
Yeah.
It's
It's more important to get Hortensia out. I'm already dead. Probably my makeup is burning first. There's enough fat in there.
I was going to say high fat content.
Mm-hmm.
Do I attempt to drink the alcohol to extinguish the fire?
Are you licking the ship clean? Is that what you're doing? Just
everyone watches as
cleaner.
You literally watch as Billum sitting there going, ow, 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 ow. Now I'm angry.
It's like drinking a B-52, right?
Walking my face along.
So what? It's more like this.
You then see you watch as nearby La Rouge is a tiny creme brulee, and he's just like sort of very delicate. All right. Very well.
To save the papers from my cape, and as soon as I've got the documents from my cape, I will throw the cape overboard.
Okay. As you grab hold of your papers, some of them are sort of seared around the edges, but you manage to save most of them. You jettison your cape, and as it flutters to the ground, sort of you watch as it hits the water and extinguishes, and then is dragged underneath the roiling waves beneath you. It is at this point that, Edward, you notice something nearby. There is a boat, a large ship, some sort of cruise liner maybe. It seems to have been lodged between two of the buildings. Several large struts and cables have trapped it there. The people and several sailors seem to be hard at work trying to dislodge it. But at the same time, you can see a large collection of these creatures encroaching from the rooftops nearby, making their way towards this vessel. Now, Scarpati has started a dive. If he continues to dive, of course, you will hit the water and hopefully manage to pick up. This is kind of your all the information you have as you are streamlining in that kind of general direction.
Ship to starboard!
As he calls that, Scarpati, Hortensia, and Ludovica, you turn your attention starboard briefly and can see the same ship. Billum, you sort of turn your attention, but as you do, you realize that you've been licking fire this whole time and are still burning.
As normal.
By this stage, you have taken 4 damage.
That's good news, I suppose.
How you looking?
Yeah, like nearly dead.
Fair enough.
Third degree.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a nearly Nobel Prize, so you're still fine. All right, so all right, Scarpati, what do you do with this new information as you continue your descent, plunging deeper and deeper, further down?
Well, I would like to still dip the water. My hopes are still that I can save this dirigible. But knowing that hopes and reality are often apart from each other, I would try to dip closer to this cruise liner to make sure that we have a plan B if we sink.
All right. Let's see this happen. So, wow, we've got lots and lots and lots of disadvantage rolls. I love this. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to require an engineering check from, no, not an engineering check. Something grace-based. Let's go, because there's no piloting skill really, because you're not supposed to be piloting. So let's go with a, let's go with just a grace check.
Dude, piloting a ship where there's no skill for that.
Yeah, that's true. It's kind of weird. I suppose it's like navigation, I guess. Let's go with a grace check. So simple grace check, nice, super easy. as you attempt this very complex maneuver.
As a negative flip?
It is going to be a negative flip because you obviously haven't learned how to, pilot this ship. Here we go.
Here we go. First one. Oh, that was great. Damn it.
Hey, that's not bad.
Hey, that's not bad. And I have a 0 on grace, so actually that is not bad.
Oh, okay. It's not bad, but if you've ever imagined a dirigible or a zeppelin attempting a maneuver to pull up that way, while an 11, of course, on a negative flip in this game is absolutely phenomenal, and I do not want to undersell how good that is. That's actually really good. It is sadly just not enough to be able to pull this maneuver out. As you hit the water, I need everyone to make me a athletics check as you suddenly hit the waves hard. All the fire on the deck
is now extinct. Can I ask you for a favor? Because I feel like I tried this maneuver, and as I go down, I realize that this is not going to happen. So I'm trying to at least pull back a little bit so that
you're not fully submerging?
We're not crashing. But that's
sure.
With that flip, I would say
with an 11,
that is
I'm
what
more than happy to say that you can make that adjustment. Yeah, 100%. This is not a headlong dive into the water. All right, so athletics checks from everyone. What do we have? Let's start with Ludovica.
Hey, this is gonna be wait, that's a 1. Athletics is grace, or is it might?
It is a might roll.
Oh, then I'm at a 0.
Okay.
Let me join my construct on the ground.
Billum?
Well, I was gonna wait until everybody else had done it because I'm a little bit of a cheater. I like to count my cards, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, sure. We'll wait for everyone else. Then that's not a problem. You're more than welcome to request that. Hortensia, I believe you had a question or a hand up.
Yes, I wanted to let you know that I pulled a 1. I wasn't happy with that, so I used one of my lovely green goblins that were bestowed upon me, and I drew again, and I drew a 1. Just to let you know that the goblin is dead for a 1. just so that's clear. The goblin died for a 1. So as I hit the water, I start singing, "Fishy, fishy, fishy, come
Are you certain about that? You've done me a great favor, and I've always got a card up my sleeve for you.
If you wish to, you can discard a card and use Billum's 13 on yours if you would like, Hortensia.
Yes, I will do that because my cards are shocking.
All right.
Pile of shocking poo. So yes, I would love that. Yes, please. Thank you, darling. Thank you. So
very well. Very well. Edward, what do we get?
I got an 11, surprisingly enough. I'm very resistant to death by water.
All right. And Scarpati.
I got a 6, but I feel like I'm going to cheat that with a 10.
All right. As you do so, the huge dirigible crashes. As it pulls up, you watch as the gas canisters on the side tear and rupture as they strike the side of this building. They seem to rip apart the bricks and the panes of glass. Everyone is kind of thrown to the back of the ship, and Ludovica is cast from the bow, from the starboard side over the edge and into the surf.
Like a small, pale, angry comet. With burning tatters of a veil and widow's smoke.
All right.
Does she float or sink? I'm not sure.
I don't have any air in my lungs usually if I don't have to speak. So I'm probably going to sink. It's fine. I don't need to breathe. I can walk home underwater.
Oh, the more pressing matter is the current. But we'll come to that. We'll come to Ludovica in a moment. But the dirigible's gas canister has ruptured and, as mentioned, begins to collapse. You guys are currently floating on the remnants of the actual deck of the dirigible as the gas is slowly sort of lowering the canopy onto you. Should it get onto you, you will have no means of seeing where you're going or steering as the current is now slowly pulling you away. Nearby, you can see 3 choices. Number 1 is you can enter a nearby fire station, which of course has multiple levels, very secure foundation, and a way to get onto the rooftop. Number 2, you can see nearby a small passageway through a university, ironically a university that Ludovica, you once worked at. Not secretly, in secret. Though it is much less stable than the firehouse, it does, however, lead to the same places that you saw those Piscean creatures heading towards the ship, and that would actually head in that direction. Your third option is, of course, to remain with the dirigible. If you want any hope of surviving on the dirigible, you will need to detach from the canopy. But if you should fail, you will be careening uncontrolled through the streets of London with no means of propulsion or steering.
So business as normal then.
Business as normal. All right. You have. I'll give you guys.
I'm googling what Piscean is.
Piscean, like Pisces, the Greek word.
Okay. Fish-like.
Fish-like. It's literally the only word I have for them. It's like my default word for describing these creatures is because, I'm not imaginative and I can't think. How else would you describe fish? They're slimy.
I've been working as a professional translator for quite some years now, and I've never come across this word in any text I've ever worked on.
It's from the Latin pistis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I did learn Latin. That's true. So
I did not. I read the description of the monster.
Yeah, that works too.
Yes, Michael, faking like he's intelligent, like a boss. All right, so I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes to discuss and come up with a plan. Ludovica, I am going to type a secret message to you.
Type away. I
You don't
learned
have
a
any
new
choice.
word today.
Billum, are you still on fire?
That is a good question. Yes. No. Maybe. I'm definitely hot.
Here, take this rope and go and get von Molenbeek. I'll hold the other end. Jump. I've got you.
All right. I'll put the rope in my mouth like it's a knife. I'm going to dive overboard. I'm going to rush ahead and dive overboard. Why am I always doing stupid things?
You are also aware that many people died instantaneously from hypothermia for diving in.
Wait, I can use the fish people. Let me utilize the Piscean bodies.
Whatever you do, do it quickly because I think we need to abandon this ship where we are.
Can't we cut the... all right.
Fishy, get my dead friend. Fishy, fishies, bring her here.
How many dead friends do you have?
All right.
That's the one.
So I need Janet for you to make me a music check.
Music check.
A music
I
check.
could make an amusing music check. Well, that could have been worse, I suppose. Let's have a look. Oh.
All right.
Nice.
And you know what? We're actually going to make it a little worse, as I once again have to thank BJ Varro. Thank you so much. I'm really glad that you're enjoying the session because Hortensia, you can have a negative flip on that, as I'm going to eat BJ Varro's dark imp. Nom, 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 nom.
Is it tasty? What does it taste like?
Pain.
Tears of pleasure.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, is that the last card? No, there's 8 more cards.
No, I'm just not very good at flipping things.
I was about to say. Oh.
Not very well.
That's nice.
Okay. As you begin to sing, Mhaire. Now I've painted a picture for Ludovica below the ocean. I'm not going to describe what it is because I want to find out what she intends to do. But as you find yourself floating in this underwater cityscape, you can see this this almost, man, this is one of the hardest things I always have to explain to people. It is literally a negative space monster. So you see the water and almost what looks to be a bubble of this chameleon-like creature moving towards you. It's barely visible, but you can only see its outline and the hollow space that this creature would otherwise occupy. But you cannot see the creature itself. Does that make sense? Yeah? No?
Yes, it makes sense.
Okay, good. Phew. Yeah. So negative space creature is swimming towards you at quite a rapid pace. Eddie, could I get the striped crawler put up on the screen, please?
You do realize we haven't had a boss monster unlocked yet, Michael. Don't hit us with an invisible giant lizard.
That's not giant. It's people sized. People sized.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's completely reasonable.
Yeah, there it is.
And it looks so friendly. Look at it.
And it's cute.
It just wants to say hello with its spiky tongue.
Oh,
Yep. All right. So it is starting to make its way towards you. What is your reaction?
You as in all of us, or you just as in one character?
As in Ludovica. Just Ludovica.
Ludovica, underwater, opens her mouth and starts to glow greenish from within, as from the dead people who have been battered and broken and drowned around her. Souls flow into her. And then with a flickering and a movement that actually makes the water swirl and bubble and maybe even cook a little bit around her as she moves faster than the eye can follow, she comes back up above the water and lands next to Hortensia.
There is literally just this eruption of water as Ludovica emerges from the surf. She kind of, I imagine she's kind of like wipes her lip, like, you know, like she's just had this incredible feast. Below,
you probably should get off the makeup.
Oh yeah, the makeup's gone. Let's just get that out there. The makeup is completely gone. But you return to the deck as this creature crawls onto deck and looks at Hortensia.
Does this one understand the siren song?
You're not sure.
Hug it, Billum. You're on fire.
Go away, shoo.
It dives into the water.
Well, that was useful.
You know, if the world keeps killing people, I'm gonna be fine.
Darling, you look deadful. I mean, dreadful.
Thank you. No. Let's stay with Deadful. How are you? Still alive? What a pity.
A little burned, but, you know, cheerful.
Look, we need to cut this balloon off of this thing now, don't we, Professor? Or can we reinflate it or something? I mean, it's awfully wonderful that you're back with us, Madam von Molenbeek, and Billum, you're all right with the fire now, right?
Why is Billum chewing on a rope?
I was going to jump in after you.
Oh.
We weren't going to leave you in there.
Are you all right?
After you.
I don't know, I'm burnt, but I'll be fine.
And she basically slaps Billum with a tiny bit of soul energy to heal him for, I think, two hit points. Yes,
it tastes
2.
like licorice.
Licorice? I love aniseed.
All right. Very well.
Well, we're going to cut the canopy or we're going to fill the canopy. Which one is it? Knife or rope?
Professor?
I'm looking around. I have the feeling that this dirigible looks really broken, right? This is not a question of bringing it back up in the air, but a question of either using it as a ship or being buried by the canopy, right? I have a feeling that we should not try to dabble with the canopy. This is going to get very, very critical in a few minutes here. So let's try to abandon ship as soon as possible. The question is, do we want to go for the fire station, or do we want to go this alleyway?
The university is also still selling, right? And
Yeah,
Ludovica
that's
points
the
there.
alleyway.
Yeah, go there. Go over there. We might find something helpful.
Okay, I remember I saw this cruise liner stranded back down this alleyway. So we are heading this direction. I think will be a clever move. So let's go.
All right. Gathering up what little belongings you have, I'm also going to say that you can grab some supplies from inside the pantry before the canopy collapses. You make your way, jumping across into one of the university's upper level windows. Smashing through it with very little ease, you manage to crawl through. As you make your way inside, it isn't long before there is this sudden snap and a crack as the scaffold holding up the gas canister collapses in on itself, and the dirigible falls into the surf. It's rolled up almost like a paper ball by the sheer strength of the sea pulling it out and into the distance. As you begin to make your way through the university, Ludovica, you know these corridors like the back of your hand. There are a number of different places that you could go, depending on obviously where you want to be. I imagine that there's unanimously you guys want to try and make it to the ship. Beforehand,
well, I think we have to agree. Ludovica, that fire started when you tried to use that stone against the burning man. So perhaps...
I didn't. She points at Hortensia.
My apologies. Yes, prima donna. Yes.
Hortensia, just real quick, you as you look at the soul stone, for the first time, you've never seen this happen to a soul stone, but the soul stone appears to be glowing bright orange.
Can I just do a quick check? This is the soul stone from Big Ben. We're talking this size, right?
Kind of like, it's like the size of a very obnoxious Greek statue. The ones that people put in their front lawns, even though they're not Greek, and they just sort of sit it there and they go, "Hey, look, I have class," and then it's like actually not worth anything. Those ones,
Ostrich egg.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, ostrich egg. Kind of. Yeah, it's big, but it's not like. Yeah.
Okay, so we're lugging this thing around, and it's quite hefty.
Yeah,
where we're at. Okay.
I mean, unless you want to abandon it, which you also don't.
No, I don't want to abandon it. Darlings, this is rather. Is it hot to the touch?
A little. It's warm. Definitely warm.
It seems as though things are warming up here. Are we concerned? I'm a little concerned. I mean, we should keep moving, but.
Did you capture some of the essence?
Honestly, Lord knows. There was screaming, and then there was fire, and I'm pretty sure some of the screaming was me. Beautiful, beautiful screaming, obviously. With resonance and poise and the blade of the voice and all of that. But yes, yes. I'm not really sure, I suppose, is what I'm saying.
Tastes like magic.
You lick it?
I'll lick it. Yeah.
It is definitely warm to the touch. It has that very particular, when you lick a car battery? That's more or less what you've just done. But yeah.
I now know everything I need to know about Australia. Excellent.
You know what? Say that, but I don't think I know a single person who hasn't licked a 9-volt in their life.
I have never licked a battery before.
How have you never licked a battery? By the way, people in the audience, do not go lick batteries because the 2 idiot Australians do, okay? We're just saying we don't know anyone who has not licked a 9-volt battery, right? Because you always get to that point where your 9 volts kind of like, is this working? I don't know. Is the battery good? And the first thing, I'm not kidding, the first thing every Aussie will do, will lick it. It'll be, yeah, no, it's dead. Or we'll go, no, it's still good. And then it's broken.
Or you go, oh, it's actually really dead, and there's some salt encrusted outside, and there's probably shouldn't have licked it. Ugh.
Yeah, all that. Yeah,
Well, that's happened to me so many times.
Yeah, no, yeah. if I had a nickel every time I died, like seriously.
Well, the point I'm trying to drive at
Australia.
was, do we think that we stand the remotest chance of success against this burning man, or is our better choice to get on that cruise ship and head for, I don't know, America or some other vile place?
Oh, not America.
Go to America. Great idea. Lunatic.
I mean, you're our magic experts here.
Well, look, loath though I am to admit it, London is the opera capital of the world, and if we don't save it, frankly, I don't know where I'm going to have my career, because, you know, Italy is so last century, and America is so gauche. So I would say we might have luck.
And what are the courts of Germany to you? Chopped liver.
I'm sorry, what?
And you don't go on with your London.
My dear, do you need some chopped liver? Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't eat. That's gross.
I wouldn't mind some.
Before we get distracted, do
Too
we
late.
turn
Too late,
and
Edward.
fight, or do we run and fight another day? I think Prima Donna once, the concept of entertainment, I think is about to take a radical turn for the worse. I think this is going to be more of a wartime type of keeping the troops' morale up sort of performances, rather than something that one might do in a civilized society. So do we run or do we stay? I think is the bottom line.
Well, at the moment, I feel like just bursting with energy at the seams, so I stay. I say let's stay and try to, you know, that building over there, I packed up most of it to ship it overseas, but there might be some interesting bits left.
Curious. I would like to remind... Oh, I'm so sorry, Billum. Sorry, what was that?
Are there explosives in the building?
Maybe. I don't think we used many of those, but interesting things. Chemicals, constructs, soul stones, corpses.
Ludovica, you lure the group. Oh, I say lure. You accompany the group into the west wing of the university. There, you knew that there were a few individuals who were quite scholarly in the ways of Malifaux and magic. While, of course, your particular patron was more of a specialist in the necromantic arts, there was indeed one individual by the name of Raymond, who was actually a quite skilled sorcerer, or at least that is what he posed the applications of sorcery in the modern world. You know that if anyone knew about the Burning Man, it would be this individual, because he prattled on constantly how the veil between Malifaux and the Earth was so already incredibly thin. If you wanted any clues on how to stop this or how to rectify it, that there may be some clues in his office. Arriving there, you can see that the place is completely abandoned, disheveled and ransacked, almost as if someone had very rapidly grabbed some stuff and run. Now you guys are faced with a choice. As you stand inside this office, you hear the sounds of a gunshot coming in the distance. It's from the direction of the boat. If you recall, there are some of these creatures making their way towards the boat, while at the same time, in front of you are clues to perhaps dealing with these portals and trying to save London. The choice lies before you.
I say we should probably have a professor and a lawyer set loose upon this room. If anyone's going to find anything of interest in there, it's going to be those two.
I agree.
And, well...
Yeah,
Makes absolute sense. Perhaps we might help the people on the boat whilst we're looking. You're fairly crack shots. from what I've seen.
And I'm like a battery freshly loaded. And it's not just 9 volts, darling.
Quick, nobody lick her.
I think this is a very... My mind. I'm going to look at these papers over here. Oh, look, Professor, a diagram on something.
Okay, Scarpati and Montague, I need both of you to make me bureaucracy checks. Meanwhile, the three of you, Hortensia, Ludovica, and Billum, run, making your way through the corridor. Every now and then, you mark Ludovica just on the wall in some way, shape, or fashion, the direction that you're going, so that obviously Edward and Scarpati can follow. After a short distance through a winding network of corridors, you find yourself literally above where the ship is. What you see is this incredibly long ocean liner. It's not like kind of your modern day ocean liner, you know, it's kind of like one of those, it looks like one of the ones that would have been decommissioned for a steel, you know, sort of steam engine kind of thing. It looks like it would have probably maybe run tours or something. It doesn't look like a battleship or anything like that. And it looks as though several of the telecommunication lines have crossed over the bridge of the ship and basically trapped it in. You see a number of sailors who are trying very frantically to shoot out against these speckled crawlers, while at the same time, even more of them are using like these huge, large instruments to basically just try and saw and hack their way through the beams in order to free the ship. They seem to be struggling to juggle all these things simultaneously. Yes, Hortensia.
I shout, darlings, you deal with those big line thingies. I am going to sing a new aria.
What's the title?
And,
of your aria?
Sorry?
What's the title of your aria?
The Fish Ballet.
The Fish Ballet.
Yes, and I spread my arms like this, and I sing, dance with me, it's so easy. 1, 2, 3, and dance with me. And I'm trying to encourage all of the fish to dance. We're going to do a lovely fish ballet to distract them while the people can escape.
All right, I'll need a music check from you if you'd be so kind.
Not a sanity check then.
No,
Just
not
a
a sanity check. This. I mean, believe it. I mean, when you get to a point where your singing actually does convince fish to do things, I mean, really, what is mad here? You or the world? But as you do, I will also use another one of your nasty little deceiving evil imps.
No.
I love it.
No. Okay, wait, that's a 3, but I don't want that to be 3.
You can't
So
cheat
it's a-
because it's a negative flip. All right. As you begin to sing, all these fish-like creatures turn their attention up to you. There's a momentary pause as only your voice carries. And then about 4 of them start climbing the wall to try and get you. They're definitely attacking. 100% attacking. As they begin to make their way up towards you. Billum and Ludovica, what are you doing as they're scaling this wall?
They're not looking like creatures usually look when they are under Hortensia's spell, which is having like tiny glowing eyes, hearts in their eyes, and they're actually looking like they want to snack on her.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And I'm going to shoot them.
I'm gonna claw him.
All right. Billum, are you doing the same? Going to open up a volley of attacks?
A volley of attacks with the old fighting claw.
All right, so you're waiting for them to kind of get close and give them the old 1-2. Meanwhile, back in the office, how do we go for our bureaucracy checks, good chaps?
I had a 9.
That's good.
15.
15. Oh, brilliant. Okay, so between the two of you, This individual, Raymond, as his name was, he seemed to have been doing a lot of research into what the guild would allow and not allow to travel through the breach into Malifaux and back. Apparently, he stipulated that the constant passage of people from one world into the other was creating an effect that was equalizing the pressures between these two realms. And unseen ley lines were slowly cracking and breaking through the reality itself. He believed that all it took was one extra push in order to finally cause that breach to snap, and there would soon be no difference between Malifaux and Earth. He thought that perhaps by adding conduits throughout the city, he might be able to stifle at least some of the energies going into, or at least causing this this break in reality. So he built and constructed 8 statues around the city, each of which he basically made to look like guild statues, so that for the most part people would leave them alone for fear of the guild. However, in his notes he does stipulate, and Sebastian, you're the one who finds this, that he did not have enough power in the end to be able to stop what is happening. And that was the biggest downfall. While much of the city was spared from a total annihilation, it seems as though the Burning Man's presence and the acceleration of the magic growing in the city, he did not have enough time to put his plan into effect before many of the statues were destroyed. Those that remain are simply attuned to being able to keep at bay the creatures from Malifaux. It would be able to protect people for the most part of it. But he also said that if he could get a sufficient surge of power, he might at least be able to try and stop this terrible catastrophe. The largest of the statues that he built was outside of King Cross Station. It was built very recently, and he says that with enough power, that one should be able to at least calm everything that's happening. These are kind of like frantic scribbles and scrawlings. On the table, you can see that he has a soul stone that is kind of, it's like a fully charged soul stone, but he seems to have, thrown it in the bin, in a nutshell. Well, not in the bin, but, like just kind of discarded it. It is not among the things he's taken with him.
We have to get to King's Cross, clearly, Professor. Do you think the soul stone that the prima donna has would be sufficient to do what he talks of?
That is up to the prima donna to answer, but this soul stone here at least will help us a little bit. But I agree, with no dirigible, with no way to getting up to the Burning Man right now, I think getting to King's Cross and trying to damper the effects that are happening here, getting more people out of the city is the best we can do. So let's take this one and the notes that you've gathered and meet up with the rest.
Before we go, Professor, I do think we should just take a moment to address the fact that, well, where this professor failed, if we fail, we might have to deal with the sensibilities of the prima donna. The fact that she's staring down the barrel of anonymity, it's the most terrifying thing that could possibly happen to her. To be forgotten is to not exist as far as she's concerned. But we might have to impress upon her that we cannot save her beloved opera here in London and actually take her to somewhere far less glamorous. If push comes to shove, that might very well be exactly what we have to do, is push her onto something to get her out of London. So just be prepared.
I know, Edward, but you have a very pessimistic view on the situation, because I think it's easy to explain that the glamour of the opera was not the opera house, but the prima donna that brought the glamour to this house, which means wherever she goes, the glamour will go. And that, I think, is what we need to encourage her to think of.
You're very optimistic about where her vanities lie, but without a stage, she really is just a sort of, well, don't say this, but effectively she's just a parrot. So we need to just be delicate. That's all I'm saying, Professor. That's all I'm saying.
I have to remind you, though, that it was me who bought the annual tickets for the opera house just because of her. I don't think she's a parrot. I think she is a great singer.
Oh no, no! I mean, I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that at all. And she needs an audience. That's all I'm saying. And she might not get it where we're going.
She will always have it in us, and we will definitely find a way to get her to a broader audience later. And I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. First, we need to get out of here rather soonish.
Agreed.
All right. As you begin to make your way out of the office, you notice not too far away, a room nearby. Both you, Scarpati, and Edward, seems to have a door closed, but there seems to be water pouring out. You wouldn't have noticed it at first, but now that you've kind of stopped for a moment, the water is bright red. Meanwhile, back on the rooftop, these creatures are clawing up. Ludovica, you've killed about 3 of these creatures now, and a couple of them have made it up to where Billum has managed to scratch their hands and their face, causing them to fall back. There's still a whole bunch of them as they're making their way up towards you. The crowd is now kind of just everyone shouting and screaming and kicking around. A few of these creatures have gone inside the university at a lower level and are trying to approach from the stairwell inside rather than up the building. Ludovica, with gun in hand, still firing. What do you do?
Every time something dies, she goes, and
It tastes like sushi.
Tuna steak. And is there ever going to be an end of these, Hortensia, or are you just starting to call more of them from down under the water instead of just drawing them away from the boat? Which was a good plan, I admit, a good plan, but it looks to me like we're going to run out of bullets before we run out of monsters.
Dance with me. 1, 2, 3. I'm trying again.
All right, so you're continuing your song. Very well. You may once again use your music check to attempt to sing to these creatures.
I really see in my mind how great a bunch like the fish ballet is going to be. So I really want this to happen. Is that the last card?
That is the last card.
It is a 12. A 12 of masks.
All right, with a 12 of masks, you all can draw a card, and yes, a handful of these creatures immediately stop and begin to dance. As this happens, you watch as the sailors are like, "What's going on? Who cares? Cut!
Ludovica accidentally shoots one more of them while they're already dancing. I'm so sorry. I did not see that coming.
That's true. I'm actually more worried. Like, it'll be really funny is if it started affecting the sailors. The sailors started dancing. No. So as
like pirouetting, I would love to see that. So yeah, I have these fish full on. They are pirouetting. They're spinning. They've grabbed a partner. They're sort of swaying. It's a beautiful, elegant, fishy little dance.
I'm definitely dancing with a fish.
Very well. You find like literally like the upper torso of a fish that you cut in half. You're like just swinging it around. It has an awful smell, by the way. But
What in Rome?
as they seem to soar through these large poles, there's a crash as the wood sinks into the water and the ship is free. You watch as the sailors then focus their attention to pushing these creatures off the deck. A man, a tall, very, very handsome looking individual who seems to be sitting on the deck, commanding as best he can. Eddie, can we get the captain on board? As he looks towards the crew and looks towards you and says, "We're about to set sail. If you're coming with us, come now." As he's waving, trying to flag you down. "All hands, prepare for boarders." You see that some of the sailors are sort of trying to clear the port side of the ship. so that you can come down. The captain takes a few shots, trying to keep the deck clear as well. Billum, Ludovica, Hortensia, what do you guys do?
Ladies first.
Hortensia continues to sing because if she stops, then the fish will stop dancing in their group choreography and start attacking. But she looks urgently at the people and they're kind of like, are we going?
Oh, they're shooting these guys. They're kicking them off the deck. You know, they're clearing them out as best they can.
So what would be the easiest way down without breaking all our bones?
Well, looking nearby, there is indeed a broken fire escape. With a very swift action, you should be able to make your way down there. The problem is you haven't seen sign of Scarpati or Edward yet.
Billum, can you smell Professor Scarpati?
You still smell peppers.
Just peppers.
And scotch.
And scotch.
I might be able to rush down there and find them. If you two want to get on the boat, if you can somehow.
We probably need to step slowly so she can keep singing. So if you don't mind to rush back and try and get them, I'll. And she very carefully grabs one hand of Hortensia and puts away the pistol, one hand in hand, and the other one on the elbow of the prima donna, and slowly leads her towards the fire escape and down step by step where she's still singing.
Are you waltzing her onto the ship?
I think so.
Best lungs in London.
As you guide her down, Billum, you turn and you begin to run back, following the arrows in reverse to try and find Professor Scarpati and Edward. The both of you see this puddle coming out of this door. Now you can choose to ignore this. What would you like to do? Would you like to rejoin or would you like to investigate? Edward, nope, no time for this, as he makes his way rushing. Scarpati?
Well, now I feel like my assumption would be that something bloody is behind the door and is bleeding into the water, and I feel like, well, okay, I don't have time for this, so I will follow Edward and just rush away. We're trying to get to wherever the group is.
All right. You begin to rush away. And as you do so, I would like both of you to make me a notice check very quickly. All right.
12.
12? Edward, you see in front of you this trickle, this very, very thin trickle of water that seems to just be passing through the corridor. Look twice and you would have missed it, but it glints almost like diamond in the air. As you turn around the corner, you see it. Scarpati, do you notice?
No, I don't think so.
All right. As you turn around the corner, you do not notice, however, but there is a sudden flash of light, and you see that half of Scarpati's hair from pretty much under his ear suddenly falls to the ground, sliced cleanly. And we are going to catch up with you guys next week as we find out what happened to Scarpati. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for today's session. Thank you, of course, to BJ Varo for all the donations. Once again, I'm so glad that you're enjoying the show. So super quick, because we have hit the hour mark. Let's hear from everyone and find out where can we find you and all of the amazing projects that you guys are currently working on. Starting, of course, with none other than the ever wonderful guardian of Hortensia and her sensibilities, Ludovica, played by the ever talented Mhaire. Hi, Mhaire.
Hi, I'm Mhaire. I'm from Scarpati TV. That's where you find me.
Fantastic. Go check it out. German, English, whatever. Go watch it. Just do it. Next up, of course, is the ever wonderful and ever talented Janice, playing the role of the equally wonderful and equally talented Hortensia Fiddlewick. Janet, where can we find you?
You can find me at World Anvil. You can go to World Anvil and create World, or just tune into one of our videos or one of our streams. Come have fun.
All right, sporting the big bushy beard and playing Billum is none other than the ever awesome Anthony from Roll for Damage. Tell us, where can we find you and what are you doing?
Oh, yes, I'm Anthony, otherwise known as Vegemite Dangerous. You can find me over at Roll for Damage, where we play D&D and other TTB RPGs.
Yay! Awesome, awesome, awesome. And of course, if you like TTG RPGs and like a lot of your doing stuff by hand, of course, there is no better map making software than that provided by Dungeon Fog. And of course, the ever wonderful Till from Dungeon Fog, who played the role of John Scarpati. Till, tell us things. Do go.
Yeah, okay. So I think you told everything people need to know. So if you want to do maps, go to dungeonfog.com, join our community on Discord, and have beautiful battle maps that you can draw in our tools.
Awesome, awesome. And if you want to sharpen your skills and add to your toolbox as a dungeon master, then head on over to How to Be a Great GM, where none other than Guy can be found, who played the wonderful role of Edward today. Guy, what are you up to? What are you doing? Where can we find your things?
All the links are in the chat. Go find them there. And there's some hectic construction going on behind me. So that's easy. Just to read the chat. Just read the chat. Come find me.
Fantastic. And of course, last but not least, well, actually, no, second last but not least, none other than, of course, Eddie. What am I saying? Edward. Eddie, who is, of course, our lovely technician behind the scenes, making everything look really, really cool and allowing us to continue onwards. From Tabletop Explorers, go check him out as he is starting up some stuff there. I have been Michael. I'm the Dead Aussie Gamer. You can find me pretty much anywhere that you type in Dead Aussie Gamer. You can find me. I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff on a bunch of different channels like Roll for Damage. And of course, guys, check out the rest of the Mercs of Mischief stuff. They do a whole bunch of really great shows. Right now, there is a crossover event that's currently going on as Puck, their regular GM, has started a bunch of new cool streams. So check out the VODs here and, of course, on YouTube as well. By the way, the reason we're rushing is because a small girl needs her daddy. So till next time, guys, as always, make sure that you game hard or die trying. Bye, everyone!
Bye.